Radio Gloucestershire, Friday afternoon, mix of sunny spells and showers across the county this afternoon. Some of the showers turning heavy and thundery, how possible at times. My guest, Nathaniel Parker's nodding because he's just come from Cheltenham and he's saying, yes, you're quite right. High of 19 degrees Celsius. This evening tonight, occasional showers continuing and a minimum temperature 11 degrees Celsius. But there will be some sunshine tomorrow and some occasional showers. That is what they call a mixed picture, I think, in the sort of weather fraternity. It is 29 minutes to 1 o'clock. As I say, Nathaniel Parker, sort of star of stage and screen, who's done so much. And how long have you been in the biz and how did you get in? Was yours kind of is there a normal route? Was yours normal?
I started when I was born. I mean, wanting to be in it. I mean,
what, you were in casualty?
I didn't realise at the time that I wanted to be an actor. I just wanted to be an astronaut or a train driver or a singer, a dancer, anything that I saw on telly, basically. The Fred Astaire's of this world, or the High Chaparral, the Virginian was really the one I loved, or whatever it was. And then when I was 9, it all pieced itself together. I saw my sister on stage at Cambridge playing Lady Macbeth, and I went, "Oh, that's what I want to do." And
that's the end product.
That was when I was 9. But up till then, it was the same. I just didn't realise the where it all ended. In terms, it all focused to being an actor.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of your family in the business. I mean, your brother
yes,
Olly. Let's talk about Olly.
Well, it all started actually. Yeah, I have. My dad acted when he was at Oxford. He met my mum rehearsing a play, when she was rehearsing a play called Epicene the Silent Woman. It happened to be directed, I think it's the only play she ever did, and she didn't have any words. And she was the silent woman. And a director there called Frank Hawes, who was my dad's best mate, pulled him along and said, "Look at this woman." And that's when they all started. And my dad did Lear and Hamlet and went to the West End with them and toured America with them, all under the Oxford University Dramatic Society, OUDS. And then when I was a kid, obviously I didn't see any of that, when I was a kid, my brother Alan was the first one I saw act as the bloody sergeant in Macbeth, and then I saw my sister playing Lady Macbeth, and then I saw Olly being the Artful Dodger at school, and things just fell into place for me. It just felt like the most natural thing. The only two of us still in it are my brother Olly and me. Olly's a film director. Now, he was an actor for some time.
He was in Casualty
as the baddie, as we refer to him. He got hate mail for being the hospital administrator for 6 months. And then we did 3 short films together, which he wrote and directed, which had quite an illustrious cast, actually. The last one had Rhys Ifans and Helena Bonham Carter playing lovers, which you can imagine the picture is very funny because Rhys is very tall and Helena isn't. And a bunch of us other actors.
That must be hard to film.
It was. Well, that was partly the point of it. Yeah. And it was a very funny, sweet short film with the Greek gods all set in London, all down on their heels and not getting anywhere. Cliff Parisi and a whole bunch of us, all quite well-known actors now, and Olly directing. And the moment Olly said action on the first film, I didn't action. I just looked at him and that's tears rolled down my cheeks. I thought, this is what you're meant to do, Olly. This is exactly what you're meant to do. Yeah. And luckily, he's a really good director.
Was that quite emotional? It'd be
annoying if it wasn't a good director.
Was that quite an emotional experience?
It was very emotional. Yeah. And this is, he pulled it all together, and he does that still. And I've just been working with him on a very good fun film called Swimming with Men, with quite an illustrious cast. Again, we've got, oh my golly.
No Rhys Ifans in it this time, though?
No, Rhys isn't in it this time.
Okay. Just imagining him. Yeah.
No, but I've got the list of people who are in it somewhere. But it's all about, taken from a documentary done in Sweden a couple of years back, about a bunch of guys, rather disparate, coming together and learning synchronised swimming at a local pool. And someone then saying to them, "Could you come and do a birthday show for somebody?" And they went, "Oh, all right." And then somebody at the birthday show said, "You know what, you should compete." And they ended up winning the unofficial world championships on behalf of Sweden for male synchronised swimmers. Now, that's partly because there aren't many of them, let's be honest. But we've transposed this script, or I haven't, Ash... I've forgotten his name. Ash, anyway.
Dieter, I think, isn't it?
Dieter, that's right, has adapted it to an English story. We've got Rob Brydon in it playing the main character, Jane Horrocks' wife, and I am the head of local council who kind of distracts Jane a little bit, and I find her rather distracting. And so
One
Rob
thing
is then-
leads to another? Does one thing lead to another?
I'm not telling you anything like
possibly
that. I
comment.
couldn't possibly comment on that.
Film's in post-production at the moment, isn't it?
And so Rob's feeling a bit put out and joins this bunch of guys just by default almost. And they then compete. I mean, it's a brilliant thing. It's
So
such a fun...
Where was it filmed?
heartening story. It's filmed in and around London. And I found myself in the very lovely position of doing a film called Ophelia at the same time in Prague. Guess what that's about? About Polonius's daughter, Hamlet's girlfriend, for those who don't remember. And I was shooting that in Prague and coming back and trying to do Olly's film in London at the same time.
For the mindset of Shakespeare, which you're kind of so used to.
Well, it's not actually Shakespeare, of course. It's close. I mean, it's the period, it's the people of Shakespeare, but not actually the language. Yeah. No, you're right. And I was playing someone who's never been played before, which is rather nice. I was playing Hamlet's father, Hamlet. So normally he's just seen as this sort of ghostly figure on the battlements. But I'm doing him, which is a lovely feeling. Although playing a cameo is a bit of a bucker sometimes, I have to be honest. I'm allowed to say that, shouldn't I? Because it does mean you hang around a lot. And I'm not very good at that. My toes get itchy and I'm thinking, come on, I need to do stuff. But I loved it. And a first-time director called Claire McCarthy, who's this... she'd done a short film of it in Australia. And this is quite a cast she got together. She had Naomi Watts, Daisy Ridley, Clive Owen, George Mackay. I mean, that's a hell of a cast. And it was lovely to be part of that. Clive's a good mate of mine, so it was nice to be on set with him. I've never been on set with him before and seen him work, and that was good fun. Nice to meet Daisy. And there was also Daisy Head, Anthony Head's daughter. And so it was a really interesting experience and a whole new story. Came from a book, actually, a couple of years back. But a whole new story and a new angle of looking at Hamlet, played by George Mackay, who I think is just one of the best. I think he's a wonderful master of his generation.
It's been a busy time for you, hasn't it?
It has, yes. It has. And vaguely moving into the world of producing.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that.
Which is very interesting for me, too.
We'll talk about that in a minute. So, Swimming with Men.
Yes, Swimming with Men.
When does it come out?
Good question. There's a showing of it this next week, to which I'm not invited. My brother phoned me up and said, you're not invited, which is lovely.
Because he just knows you'll be there,
I feel warm
obviously.
about him for that. No, it's just that I think that he wants people who aren't anything connected with it in the room. Nobody connected with it.
So it wasn't an admin error, it was deliberate.
No.
Okay.
It was a deliberate error. It was not deliberate, because he... yes, I think if you've got some members of the cast in it, often people are looking at the cast members to see what they think.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true. So let's not distract them. Yeah. I am dying to see it, though. Yeah. It was a really well-done piece. And unfortunately, he's as I say, I think he's a wonderful director. He's certainly great to work with, and all the actors I know love working with him. But it's one of those experiences for him. I've seen him have to go through it before, where it becomes like the Grand National sometimes. Hurdles for a director are just put up in front of you on a daily basis. How they have the temperament, I don't know. It's extraordinary because I do 3-4 jobs a year. Directors do one, and they've really got to get into the script and they've really got into the shooting, which is almost the annoying part, I think. And then they've got to get into the post-production and watch our faces again and again and again every day. How annoying.
How do you keep the brotherly love going during something that's, let's face it, making a film is...
Well, it's easy. It's easy with Olly. And I remember the very first time when he directed me properly for a film, which was Othello with Lawrence Fishburne and Ken Branagh playing Iago, which Helen... actually, it was Irene Jacob played... I've forgotten her name now. In Othello. Oh, dear. Desdemona. Thank you. And my wife was in it too. And I remember he had a session with Anna first, about an hour long, going through the character with her upstairs in our living room. And I remember thinking, OK, that's fun, looking forward to my bit. And I sit down there, and for 15 minutes, all I could do was giggle. I couldn't take him seriously. Yeah. And I think that sort of permeated throughout. I thoroughly
want to... I don't want to interview Olly at some point. If you could
He's very good.
Put in a request for
Much
me.
funnier, wittier and all the rest of it.
Not at all. BBC Radio Gloucestershire, 20-1, having a chat with Nathaniel Parker about his new film, Swimming with Men, that's been produced by his brother Olly, of course, and all sorts of other stuff like Ophelia. Much more to come about his life in producing, and also how to have a marriage that lasts 25 years. The way I'm saying that, it's almost like a question question. It's almost like nobody's been married longer than 25
exactly.
years.
Loads of people
But
have
we'll
done it.
talk much more about that in a minute on BBC Radio Gloucestershire. Our lunch breakers here after 1 o'clock today. Claire McGill, one of her best friends too, who's spent lots of time in Washington with her, and that's George Stark. So they're going to be coming into the studio after 1 o'clock today. A little bit of Tina Turner, 90 minutes to 1 now. Quarter to 1, BBC Radio Gloucestershire, having a chat with Nathaniel Parker, a Gloucestershire-based actor, and I say based because you spend a lot of your time, or you have done, away, not necessarily abroad, but as you were saying, with Swimming with Men in London. You're kind of a commuter to the county. I know you love living here with your 2 daughters and your wife Anna.
We don't have anywhere else to live. So this is home.
This is
home.
it.
I mean, sometimes I have to rent somewhere in London. When I was doing play recently in London, and when I was doing it Wolf Hall, for this house, I had to have, which is a play I did over the turn of the year. You have to have somewhere in London, really. If you're doing 6 nights a week and you don't finish till 11, driving home and then being back for a matinee the next day is completely impractical. You become very tired. And I did that for a while, actually, on Wolf Hall. But that was an even more tiring part, so it was even more stupid of me. And that just means that the minutes you grab at home, and as glorious as they are, because it is home, it becomes a spiralling sort of, you don't want to be part of it, really.
Yeah. Well, I know that you love your home in Gloucestershire, and I'm also told we had our gardening expert Reg Moore on the air yesterday answering all sorts of questions. I'm told you're quite green-fingered yourself. You quite like a bit of gardening, is that
yes,
right?
Yeah. Oh, that's thrown for curveball. Yeah, absolutely. And we see what happened. We found our place in Gloucestershire, which is a bunch of broken barns, and my wife had vision. Anna has vision. She is extraordinary with these things. And she rebuilt it. Took a lot of planning permission requests because nobody had lived there before. And she did all the interior and I did the exterior. And I'd never done that before. We'd had a lovely garden in London when we lived there. And my mum was a very keen gardener, wrote a beautiful book called Purest of Pleasures. And my mother-in-law was a very keen gardener. My aunt was a botanist. And so I had it in my bones a little bit. And I used to follow her around. My dad used to describe himself as Caliban, just shifting stones and stuff for my mum. But you do really, when you're challenged with it, you've got to go for it. And so I built this garden around these amazing complex of barns that my wife had rebuilt. And there was nothing there before. So to have swathes of green and flower beds and the names often escape me, but I've learnt how to do it a bit now. And when I was in New York, actually, I went to their botanical gardens and I got some wonderful inspiration, brought it back. And there's still a couple of things I haven't done yet, but a rose semicircle that I've done was inspired by that. And it's so fulfilling.
And it's therapeutic, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
After being on stage and playing.
And I often get my mum on my shoulder when I'm doing it, is how it feels. And either Beth or Pat, my aunt or my mother-in-law on the other side. And so I do commune with her quite often, which is a lovely feeling. She left us 7 or 8 years ago now, and I wish she hadn't. So it's lovely to have that connection again. I remember asking her once if she talked to the plants, and she said, no, but I do sometimes tell them what to do, which I thought was a great line. So I'm not very good at talking to them, but I do sometimes also follow her. But I said, no, you've got to do this. You understand? It's a really fulfilling and wonderful feeling.
All right, I'm going to have to get... So I know you mentioned that you do a few voiceovers nowadays as well,
yes.
So I will have to get you to do a voiceover before you leave the studio, plugging our gardening phone in next time Reg Moore is in on BBC Radio Gloucestershire. I know your wife Anna's it doesn't like necessarily being in the spotlight, but I do want to talk to you about 25 years.
Yes.
A little
it
while
sort of crept
ago.
up on us, actually. We celebrated the 20th. Quite well, because 5 years before we got married, we met. So we've got a sort of 5-year gap thing that happens, and then 5 years later we had the children. So I've always seen my life as Nat with Anna and children. And it's quite a clear picture for me. I love it. So, yes, 25 years. It does sort of creep up on you. You don't realise it's going to happen.
What is the secret? Did you?
There's no secret. People have done it for a lot longer. My parents were 50 years.
Yeah.
You know, I think people just do it if you commit yourself. And I don't have a different vision of my life without Anna. So
Simple as that,
Simple
isn't
as
it?
that, really.
Yeah, no, it's good advice. Well, I asked that because I'm coming up to 20 years. I don't know if there's a special name for that at the end of next week. So, yeah, that's good.
The special name is definitely not the end of next week.
No, it's not. I will look towards the 5 years after 20 and get some good tips. Right, we'll chat a little bit more in just a sec. It's BBC Radio Gloucestershire. Nathaniel Parker with me at 11 minutes to 1. Gloucestershire, 8 minutes to 1 o'clock. Thoroughly enjoyed my time with Nathaniel Parker, Gloucestershire-based actor, talking about all the stuff he's doing at the moment. He's a busy man doing this new movie that's going to be out hopefully a little bit later on this year, Swimming with Men, also Ophelia, which I believe is going to be out next year. But much more importantly than all of that, our great Gloucestershire road trip's taken us to Miserdon this week.
Which has two wonderful things that I know of. I haven't been to the pub that was the publican was mentioned earlier on the radio. I have been to the nursery, Miserdon Nursery, which is a fantastic nursery.
Well, I was talking to them yesterday because the lady that set it up with her partner, she used to work in Gardener's World.
Oh, right. Well,
it was always their dream to open the nursery.
Well, it's a beautiful nursery, and I've had a couple of my roses from there, and I love them. And the other was last year, I sort of opened, but not opened, sort of welcomed the cast of Midsummer Night's Dream from their local primary school. And it was such a sweet evening. It was. I'm sure they've done it again this year, if they've dodged the rain. Yeah. Oh, my goodness, what an awful summer we've had. But maybe they haven't even done it yet. But it was such a sweet experience. Their kids were committed. I mean, just wholehearted. There was nothing else that went on for them. It was so sweet to watch, and they were all good. They were all good. There wasn't a bad penny amongst them. It was lovely.
I will make sure they get to hear you saying that. So, okay, so you're a busy man. What about producing?
Oh, yes, I mentioned it. I've got to be careful about that one. Again, it's one of those things that if until the money's in the bank, until the contract is signed, you're always a bit doubtful. But I was lucky enough to get the rights to a book a couple of years back. It's the first one I've done. I've bought the rights to, and I have a production company, and I thought, you know what, let's get on with it. Let's try and do something. And there is a lovely production company in London. Again, I'm not going to mention too much in case I'm doing. But it looks. We've got a writer. We're getting there. We're just about to be commissioned. It's so exciting.
But I think that's why so much comes to you, because of your mindset. You came into the studio, as I say, you've got so much positivity around you. And if I was a casting agent or whatever, a film director, or maybe thinking about who's going to be the next Bond, I think I'd be thinking.
Well, he's just signed the contract.
I know he has. Have you ever been in there?
No, I was. At one moment, when I noticed somebody said I was 8-1 in the bookies, and I thought, I'll go and put some money on that and make myself favourite, and then they'll say, Nathaniel Parker, new favourite for Bond, until another journalist comes along and says, what did he look like, this punter? You know? And so I've resisted it. Of course, it was a dream, and now my dream is to be a baddie in Bond.
Oh, there you go. Well,
I'm too old to be Bond now.
Let's hope Barbara Broccoli and the team are listening to that.
Yeah, let's hope they are, because it's a great franchise.
All right. You mentioned voiceovers as well, which you've got a great voice for that, so I can't really let you go without... I mean, obviously, Reg Moore, we know you love your gardening. Reg Moore was on yesterday, by the way, I should say. He's not going to be on for a couple of weeks, but I would like you to say something along the lines, if you're listening to the Reg Moore gardening phone-in on BBC Radio Gloucestershire, and I will play it to him next time he's
do you
in.
want to do this live on air?
If that's okay... It's Reg Mole, not Reg Mole, as somebody once read for me. Okay, here we go.
Is this an upbeat voiceover?
This is whatever you want.
Whatever I want
it to be. Fantastic.
This is how I'll do it in the studio, okay? I'll give you two versions. Okay. You're listening to the Reg Mole Gardening Phone-In on Radio Gloucester.
Okay, can we have BBC Radio Gloucestershire in there?
BBC Radio Gloucestershire. BBC Radio Gloucestershire. BBC.
I like it. It's a live audition.
Now we'll do it another. You're listening to the Reg Mole Gardening Phone-In on BBC Radio Gloucestershire.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Not that you need the job, but
can I do it
on
an Irish as well? No, I better not, actually. I don't want to offend anybody with sensitive...
Do you want to do a dark, scary one?
Accent.
You can do whatever you want.
No, one of the joys of being an actor is learning accents, and I love doing them. I often offend people from where they come from, but I really don't mean to. But so audiobooks is one of my favourite forms of acting.
Thank you so much indeed for coming in. You've made our member of staff, Paula Witcher, very happy today, I can say as well. She just sent me a note saying 20 years married is traditional China and modern platinum. This is for me.
Modern platinum?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
You've obviously got the silver.
I've got the silver.
Thank you. Anyway, thank you for that, Paula. Thanks so much for coming in. I could talk to you all day long. Nathaniel Parker, thank you so much, and I keep in touch with you.
Of course.
Lovely. 4 minutes to 1 on BBC Radio Gloucestershire.